Hey everyone, it's Dave and Olive. Thanks for joining us today at Book Blather, where we talk about the books we've read recently to help spread the joy of reading. We talk a lot of horror, sci-fi, fantasy, but we mix it up with all other kinds of fiction and nonfiction as well. Today, we're doing the next episode of Graphic Adaptations. Okay, everybody, thanks for joining us today. So, quickly before we get started, we mentioned in the community tab that we did just recently start a Discord channel. We'll link that below. It's not going to be like crazy full-fledged Discord unless people want to use it like that, but really we just set it up as a way because we've developed a few group reads now. So really just an easy way for everybody to chat. So the first one that we've started now, but it's not too late to join, is in August we are doing The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and then I think in September, if that works for everybody, we're going to be doing Zombie by Joyce Carol Oates. So if you're interested, hit the Discord link below, and if you're not familiar with Discord, it's very easy. Just hit that link; it's self-explanatory. Okay, so today what we're doing is, a little while back we did a video where we compared the book Sour Candy by Keelan Patrick Burke to the graphic novel adaptation that came out, John Carpenter's Night Terrors version of Sour Candy. That came out in this past spring sometime. And so we did, we did that comparing the two, and we realized we enjoyed doing that. We realized we want to do a few more of those. So we'll just do multiple episodes, and we're going to call it, graphic adaptations. A little bit of a pun, but as it turns out, the one we're doing today actually is a little graphic. So the one we're doing today is, we read a book that we talked a little bit about a while back called Downward to Earth by Robert Silverberg. This was published back in 1969. And this was, just briefly, because we already reviewed this, which we'll link below, but this was this is a pretty well acclaimed science fiction novel that has some allusions to Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. So what this is about a man, this guy Gunderson, he had been a director on this planet called Belzegor, and there was two sentient species that were living there, but just not as advanced as we were. So we kind of colonized the planet, exploited them for what we needed out of the planet, and eventually came to the realization that we should relinquish control back to them and depart. Certain people stayed at the planet, but most people, including our main character, left. 8 years later, he's coming back, really seeking atonement, and that's what this story is mostly about. So it's a bit of an adventure. Then he sees some of the characters that he had last seen 8 years ago, co-worker, love interest, some of the other sentient creatures that live there, and he goes on this journey up into what they call the Mist Country, seeking atonement, and looking. It has something to do with this ritual called the rebirth that the sentient creatures on this planet go through. And so I don't want to say any more than that. And so there is a graphic novel version of this that came out just a few years ago. And as you can see, this version is just called Robert Silverberg's Downward to Earth. It's kind of big, so I try to get it in the camera there. But and this is by Humanoid Comics. This is the deluxe hardcover version. It is so I got like a really good deal on this. I got it for like $16. But so normally it's going to be expensive, but if you just wait and keep looking around, then you might be able to find a good deal on it, like I did. I just really like these oversized deluxe ones when they come out. But there's a couple different versions of this. There's a couple different versions. And there's a trade paperback, and they're you might see it as one called Colonies Return to Belzegor, And so they all came out in like 2017, 2018, 2019. But that other, it's the same. So don't waste your money thinking you're getting something different. They're the same thing. Um, so, so this was an adaptation of the book, obviously. And, we coincidentally, just a couple weeks ago, we were having a conversation, an in-depth conversation about adaptations over at Steve Talks Books with P.L. Stewart and Yolene Reeds. And we had a long discussion about adaptations with A.P. Canavan from Critical Dragon, and about what adaptations should be, and in particular discussions about how fans of the original and some of these fandoms where people will get very upset if the movie adaptation is not faithful to the original and there's changes. And we were talking about that, and there's different types of adaptations, audiobooks, television series, movies, and we talked about how sometimes you're going to have changes even without switching mediums, but definitely when you switch mediums like that, you are definitely 100% always going to have changes. And so maybe it's not such a big thing to have lots of changes. It's a new work, and who's to say how many changes are acceptable? I mean, you can have a lot of changes, and it can be loosely based on the original, and just experience it, for this, in many ways brand new work that it is. And so I say all of that because that's what this was. That last one we had done, Sour Candy, the graphic novel version was truncated, but it was pretty true to the original. This was not. This was very different. So I should mention, the story was by Philippe Thoreau, and the art was by Laura Zuccari. And so I guess first I will say the writing was okay, but the art was pretty good, and I'll show you some of these. I'll do a close-up of the pages here so you can see. I don't want to do too many of the pages so that it doesn't give away the story, but as you can see here, it's really pretty good art, at least in our opinion. I think it's pretty good visually. And so, I told you basically what the original book was about, and this introduced that basic underlying story of a director coming back to Belzegor, and going on this journey and seeking out the rebirth ceremony, and him and a couple of the characters that he encountered previously were the same characters there, including a character I had mentioned that there are, there are allusions to the book A Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, and there is even a nod to that book by Silverberg by naming one of the same characters, Kurtz, giving him the same name, because it explores similar themes of colonialism and basically exploitation, slavery, of sentient people that the colonists view as inferior. And so that sort of underlying story and themes are there, but there are a lot of changes, a lot. And if you are one of those fans that is going to be upset by significant changes from the original, you would be upset by this. I personally don't think it's a reason that you shouldn't read this, but there were a lot of changes, a lot of very major details about it. For instance, our main character, Gunderson, is presented very differently. Most of the characters, including Gunderson, are not, well, pretty much all the characters, including Gunderson, are not very likable in this graphic novel. And Gunderson was, you respected him some in the novel, because he was, he was coming back coming back for different reasons, but really because he was seeking some atonement for something that he had done the first time he was on the planet. And he is not. That is not the reason that he comes in the graphic novel. And so, he evolves a little bit as we get through the story, but he's really he's just coming as like a hired guide. And so that was really kind of a major character feature in the novel that wasn't really here. And several of the other characters are they act very differently. Kurtz, who I mentioned himself, is kind of presented differently and has a much more major role in this book. One of the other characters that was one of the humans is very different, and a lot of the things that happen, even the way this concept called grok, that's important to the sentient beings there, and it's totally something different here. And he introduces new, well, not new, but there are additional characters that go along on the whole trip with Gunderson that didn't happen in the book, and they're almost like is to present this additional, like, sort of love triangle. Like, Gunderson's original interest is still on the planet, and then there's one of these new scientists that comes along with Gunderson, and they're trying to produce. It's almost for the purpose of producing this new sort of love triangle thing, which does get a little graphic, like I said, and so none of that stuff was in the novel, and so it was just very, very different. There were a lot of major changes to it, and I thought the book was better. I did really enjoy the book, but I did enjoy reading this, and I did enjoy reading a very different take on it. Now, like I said, the writing wasn't it wasn't awful, but it wasn't phenomenal. A lot of the character behavior was sort of that just like rapid, unbelievable dialogue and changes in position. It was kind of some of it was not very believable, the way some of the characters were acting, and so just some of that dialogue was not written very well. But that being said, like I said, despite all the differences and despite some of the shortcomings that it had, I still think it was enjoyable to read. And I actually enjoyed reading the story from a very, very different perspective and a very different take on it. So, but if you're not one of those types of fans, you won't like this. If you read Downward to Earth and you loved it, then you won't, and you don't like changes, you're not going to love this one. So overall, I would recommend getting this. The deluxe hardcover was nice if you find a good deal on it. And so yeah, that's basically the sum of it. Downward to Earth, Robert Silverberg's Downward to Earth. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell so that you get notified the next time Olive says it's okay to upload another video. Thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment below if you've read this, or if you read the original and you have any thoughts on this, or if you don't want to leave anything substantive, leave Olive a puppy emoji. She always loves to see those. So again, thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other, and we'll see you next time.